I run an Airbnb in the Appalachian woods, and we've got some rules. R/Creepcast by Anna Scandy. I inherited my grandfather's cabin after he passed away. I would never sell it, because quite frankly, I don't want to be haunted by his angry ghost. I live in Pittsburgh, and I've never been really much of a great outdoors kind of person. I spent a few weekends of my childhood at my grandfather's cabin because my dad always said it's good to get out of the city and get a change of scenery. I always figured it was just an excuse for my dad to be able to grab a few beers and relive the days of his reckless youth with his buddies because he was always hungover when we came home. We always had a good time visiting Grandpa's kids. There's plenty to keep you occupied, but if I'm honest, the place always scared me a little. My granddad used to tell my brother and I these stories growing up, and I always figured they were just tall tales and ghost stories to keep us from wandering at night. I know better now, though. Don't get me wrong, it's a cozy cabin and makes for an excellent weekend getaway. Grandpa took a lot of pride in making it as homely as possible, and I've done my best to uphold that. It wasn't perfect, by any means, and since his passing, there's been a few adjustments. There's no longer any mold in the bathroom, and the gutters have been cleaned for the first time in about a decade. The shower's decent, and we even installed one of those fancy wooden hot tubs out back, because I hear people like those. There's a fireplace in the living room and a few fluffy rugs. We removed the deer hides that used to cover the floors because my wife thought it might come off as a little too macabre for this more sensitive soul. And I guess she's right. There's even a fire pit outside for toasting marshmallows and making s'mores and what have you. I'll be honest, I didn't think we'd get any interest when we first put up on Airbnb because it's pretty remote. Pittsburgh is the nearest city, but it's about a 4-hour drive and then a bit of an off-road adventure into the woods. The place ain't exactly located on any maps, but the local ranger station does know about us. We only got access to the cell phone hotspot a few weeks ago because we figured people would want to stay connected, even though that kind of defeats the point of a getaway. Now, this ain't no 5-star hotel. It's comfortable, but it's also practical. There's a sofa bed in the living room, and then 2 single beds in the bedroom. The kitchen is small but practical, and will have everything you need. Although the gas stove can be a little temperamental at times. Okay, I think those are all the practical bits out of the way. Remember those stories my grandpa would tell us? The ones that I used to think weren't real? I'm afraid I have some bad news. They're real. I learned that the hard way when we began the refurbishment before turning it into an Airbnb. I wish I was kidding, but I'm not, and I need you to listen very carefully. Your life depends on it. If, by the end of this, you still don't believe me, well, don't say I didn't warn you, and don't come asking me for a refund. Number 1. Announce yourself when you arrive. This was something Grandpa always did that I used to think was a bit weird, but now it makes sense. Before you unlock the door, put your bags down and turn around so that you are facing the woods. Then, without screaming, but loud enough so that your voice carries, say these words. My name is, insert your full name, and I'm staying here until insert the exact day you plan on checking out. I mean you no harm, and all I ask is that you leave me alone. Honestly, I can't guarantee this works, but manners maketh man and whatnot. Number 2. If you hear baby, no you didn't. This is Appalachia 101. There will be times when you are outside, maybe chilling in that nice hot tub, and you'll hear what sounds like a bobcat. You'll probably think it's probably just a bobcat, but I need you to really listen to me here. It isn't a bobcat, nor is it a baby. Whatever you do, don't try to find the source of the sound. Just ignore it, and it might ignore you. 3. Always keep the porch light on. Just as you walk inside, there's a little white switch on the left side of the door. You want to flick it to turn on the front porch upon arrival. No, it doesn't matter if it's still broad daylight, the light always has to be left on. I once had a guest tell me they kept the light off to preserve energy. All through the night, they heard footsteps on the porch and knocking on the door. It wasn't until they turned on the porch light back on that it stopped. Number 4. Pull the curtains at night. I mean, this one is just really a bit of friendly advice, but I definitely wouldn't want to turn around in the middle of the night to a face staring at me. Number 5. If you hear whistling, don't whistle back. When I was around 10 years old and was out here for a weekend, Grandpa was out sorting firewood and I was left to my own devices. I decided to go exploring and, as kids do, wandered off. At one point, I heard whistling that I thought sounded exactly like the way Grandpa whistles, and so I replied with the same whistling, because it was the game we used to play. I found Grandpa chopping wood, and when I told him about the whistling, his face turned pale. He scolded me for doing something so reckless, and I was confused. I thought he'd been the one whistling. He picked me up and we ran inside. He locked the doors and shut the windows. We heard the whistling outside of the cabin as if someone was circling around it, and for weeks, I heard it in my dreams. Number 6. Whatever the old man says, he is a Mr. Miller. We don't have many neighbors out here, but I always remembered Mr. Miller. His cabin is technically the one closest to Grandpa's. He used to have this sweet old Nova Scotia retriever called Dewey. He used to let us borrow. Dewey was the same age in dog years to Mr. Miller's human age, but with a puppish soul. He was born with a bit of a limp, but that didn't stop him from chasing chipmunks to his heart's content. I'll never forget the time Mr. Miller knocked on the front door, barely able to hold it together, asking Grandpa if he'd seen Dewey, and that he'd run off chasing something in the woods, but never came back. Grandpa and Mr. Miller searched for Dewey for 3 days without a trace. On the 4th day, Mr. Miller said he found Dewey's body ripped apart at the back of his cabin, as if something had done that to him. 2 days later, Grandpa went to check on Mr. Miller and found him in his rocking chair, shotgun in one hand, a hole through his head. So when you open the door to an old man who looks and sounds exactly like Mr. Miller, with a dog that looks just like Dewey, asking if he can have a glass of water or use the bathroom before he's on his merry way, I am telling you, it ain't Mr. Miller, and it sure as hell ain't Dewey. 7. If the radio starts playing blues music, hide. There's an old-fashioned radio in the kitchen. It has access to a couple of stations nearby. We usually think it's a good idea to listen for the sake of an accurate weather forecast, because it gets unpredictable out here. If the radio starts playing music, especially that one really old song, Me and the Devil Walking Side by Side, by what's his name? Robert Johnson. Yeah, that one. If you hear that song coming out the radio, you need to hide as if your whole entire life depends on it. Because it does. And don't even try to look, even if somebody's walking around the cabin. I've never gotten a look at him myself, but according to the wife of one of our guests, her husband still has nightmares. Number 8. Ignore the woman crying by the stream. Don't stop. Don't ask her if she's okay. Don't offer to help. Don't look her in the eyes. Don't talk to her. Just walk on by. She'll be gone by the time you are on your way back to the cabin. I don't know exactly what she is, but my dad says it might be a remnant of some kind of Swedish forest nymph. I read up about it some time ago, but apparently, according to the legend, they seduced men into sleeping with them. There weren't a huge number of Scandinavian settlers in Appalachia, but some of them found their way here. They worked with logging and lumber, and probably brought some of their stories with them from Scandinavia. Number 9. Leave a tiny shot of whiskey at the bottom of the step every night. We keep a bottle of Glycosaw single malt in the liquor cabinet. That's the really good stuff, bought directly from a distillery in Scotland. It is specifically for being left out. If you forget, or if you decide not to, don't cry to me, Argentina, when you find out that all your socks have been cut into a million pieces and there's mite shit in your suitcases. It gets angry. I warned you. Number 10. When you leave, be sure to announce your departure. Just like when you check in, this is more for your own safety. Lock the door, put the key away, turn around facing the woods and say, "Thank you for having me. Please stay here and don't follow me back." 9 out of 10 times it works. Right. I think that's it. Well, at least the most important ones that'll probably keep you alive throughout your stay. I have a ton of stories growing up here, but I need to get some shut-eye. Let me know if you want to hear them. Oh shit, I forgot to warn you about the colds. Oh well, they're mostly harmless.